My grandmother left me her bakery, but only if I spent a year running it with the girl who spent our whole childhood making sure I had none. I understand now why she wrote it that way. I didn't cry when they lowered her into the ground, and everyone assumed I was strong. The truth is, I was just empty. She was the last person alive who called me by the name only my mother used, and my mother had been gone 2 years by then. A slow cancer that took her in pieces until there was nothing left to hold. Gran was the final thread tying me to the idea that I'd ever belonged to anyone. So when the lawyer handed me the will and told me I'd inherited the corner shop on Harlan Street that smelled like cardamom and sugar, I didn't feel lucky. I felt heavier. Then came the condition. There's always a condition. To keep the shop, I had to run it for a year alongside the second person named in the will. That person turned out to be Vera Nolan, the same Vera who once told an entire middle school that my mother's illness was catching, so that for a year nobody would sit within 3 seats of me. The same Vera who accidentally knocked my science project into a puddle and smiled while she did it, my oldest tormentor. I laughed and asked if it was a prank. That's when the door opened and she walked in, arms folded, jaw tight, looking like she'd bitten into something rotten. "Believe me," she said, "I didn't ask for this either. Neither of us wanted it, but a paid-off bakery and the flat above it, in an economy like this, isn't something broke people walk away from. So we both signed, we both moved in, and for weeks we lived like 2 cats circling the same territory. Opposite shifts, the bare minimum of words. I took mornings, she took nights. We passed in the doorway like strangers who'd agreed never to make eye contact. The first crack came over a song. I was closing up late when I heard her in the kitchen, humming while she scrubbed the trays, a looping lullaby I hadn't heard since I was small. It stopped me cold. "Where did you learn that?" I asked, sharper than I meant to. She shrugged and said her mother used to sing it. I let it go, but it sat in my chest like a splinter I couldn't reach. After that, things quietly shifted. I noticed she'd started fixing the jammed oven latch I kept fighting with, never mentioning it, so I started switching the ovens on before her shift, so she'd come down to a warm kitchen. Neither of us ever said a word about it. Then the pipe burst. 3 in the morning, the night before the shop's centennial, the cellar flooding fast around boxes of Gran's things. We hauled them up the stairs together, soaked and swearing, and that's when a photograph slid out of a waterlogged album onto the floor between us. 2 little girls in matching dresses on the bakery step. One was clearly my mother. The other, Vera picked up with a shaking hand, and I watched the color drain out of her face. "That's my mom," she whispered. She told me everything then, sitting on the floor at dawn. My grandmother had 2 daughters. The younger got pregnant at 17, and Gran, terrified of the shame in a crueler time, paid her to leave and never come back, then erased her so completely that my own mother grew up believing she was an only child. Vera's mother raised her on that wound, on the story that the shop, the name, the family, all of it had been stolen from them. "I hated you," Vera said, her voice cracking, "because they told me you were living my life. I didn't even understand what I was angry at. I just knew you had the grandmother, the home, the belonging I was raised to believe should have been mine. We were cousins. We'd been cousins the entire time she was making my childhood unbearable. I didn't forgive her that night. Grief doesn't move that fast, and neither does 20 years of it. But as the sun rose over the flooded cellar and the smell of cardamom lifted from those ruined boxes, I started humming the lullaby, and after a moment she joined me. Gran had sung it to both our mothers in the same kitchen, long before either of us was born. We hummed until the lights came back on. 2 grandchildren a dead woman's shame had kept apart, finally choosing to be what we always should have been.